Atacama Desert, George has called in wildlife camerawoman Sophie Darlington. Her thermal camera will be able to capture the vampire bats feeding.
What we need to do to nail it is to see them feeding.
That would be extraordinary.
That's it.
George has tracked them to a sea lion colony on the far side of the island. It could be a perfect source of blood for the bats.
We're coming down here. It's going to be absolutely awesome.
That would be incredible.
Sophie's night vision cameras should provide the answer.
Well, we're just waiting for the bats to arrive. We're almost set up now. So any minute now, the vampires will be flying.
Soon after George and Sophie arrive, so do the bats, flitting close to them, attracted by their body heat.
What do you got? Let's see. Come on.
Okay. There's a big bull, and there's been a bat flying around, completely harassing him.
Oh, yeah, I can see it. Yeah. There's two of them there. There's three of them.
That was a bite.
This is unbelievable. Look at it. It knew it was
And there's
there.
one at the back. There's
one
more
right
than
there.
one.
The bats are all over them.
Poor sea lion.
They're following it. Look, there's a vampire bat. Look, it's just following it up behind it. Look at it. It's right on the back. It's just unbelievable. So they are feeding on sea lions.
The bats employ a clever strategy when attempting to feed on an animal many times their size. They land close by and creep towards an area of flesh the creature will struggle to defend.
They're attacking from the rear, and the sea lions know they're there, and they keep turning, putting their head up. And as the sea lion moves, they just keep following it. And the poor sea lions are being harassed. I mean, they really are aware of them.
Look at him hopping, George.
You know, it dispels the myth of the sort of animals having a quiet sleep at night. They're not. It's torment. It's absolute torment. They must be exhausted in the morning.
These bats, they're completely and utterly just going for it. One's just been hit by that wave.
I just can't believe what I'm seeing.
Weighing 40 grams, each bat can consume half its own body weight of blood in a single feed, lasting up to 20 minutes.
Is that a hot spot there? Is that the hot spot? That's where we can see the wound. Good grief. We can see the wound on the flipper.
Only the thermal camera can reveal this extraordinary behavior.
The bats are going into the rear end because that's where it's hottest, and you can really see that in the thermal camera. They're very, very bright, which means the blood's very close to the surface, so easy access for the bats and an easy meal, I'd reckon.
To see the wound, the heat signature of the wound left by a vampire bat on the flipper of a sea lion in pitch darkness, that is truly awesome.
It is the last of the team's mysteries solved.
Now we know what's happening. That's why there's a permanent colony of vampire bats here, because there's a permanent colony of big, fat, blood-filled food bags for them.
Mature male fruit bats have territories in the roosting trees, branches that they mark with scent and defend against other males. The females decide where to roost and who to mate with. The males are remarkably well endowed. Each morning, the male checks out all the females roosting on his branch. Courtship can be lengthy and intense. 20 minutes of deep grooming, licking the female's nether parts with a long, roughened tongue, perhaps to arouse her, or perhaps to remove any rival male sperm. mating is vigorous, noisy, and repetitive. That may have looked violent, but the female can always let go of the branch and fly off if she's had enough.
Any insects around here are in big trouble. The sound of their wings is just phenomenal. I actually have to raise my voice to be heard above the sound of these bats' wings. And there is a wind being driven out from the hole just purely from their flapping wings. There are 9 different species of bats living inside this cave. One of them feeds on nectar. The rest are all insect-feeding bats. And this is one of the greatest aggregations, that is, collections of predators that you will see on the whole planet. This is one of the greatest spectacles I have ever witnessed. From nothing to an eruption of bats, this really is a volcano of bats. That is extraordinary. To see them begin their nightly pilgrimage, we scramble to a higher viewpoint above the sinkhole. We just quickly run up above the sinkhole just to catch the last few rays of sunshine illuminating this cloud of bats just heading out almost like tendrils of smoke over the top of the forest. It really is one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen. Every single one of the bats, their wings are backlit by the sunshine, so you can see these tiny little phantoms glowing orange as they hover above the forest. And look at that now, just heading across the skyline in just great long smoky tubes. It may seem crazy to be looking at something so exquisite and suggesting it as something that should go on the Deadly 60, but actually, in terms of scale, we will never feature anything that is such an epic display of predatory behaviour as this ever on this series.
Fountains Abbey in Yorkshire is a good place to watch hunting bats in action, including one of the most common, Daubenton's bat, also known as the water bat. Old stone bridges are a favourite roost. The water bat's chirps aren't exactly subtle. At 110 decibels, it makes more racket than a road drill. But like us, most of the insects it hunts can't hear ultrasound. As the bat homes in, its squeaks speed up. Insects have been bat prey since the dinosaurs were here, and some have got wise to the hunter's tricks. This moth has ears tuned direct to bat frequency, and lightning reactions to help it dodge attack. Power diving is a common moth escape technique, though crash landing in the water can backfire. The Daubenton's isn't called the water bat for nothing.
In the Abbey Gardens, a very different bat sets out to look for food. Brown long-eared bats use a different strategy from most bats. Instead of shouting, they whisper. This means they get fainter echoes back, so they need massive ears to compensate. A long-eared bat's ears are so sensitive, they can pick up wing vibrations from a moth perched on a leaf. Another bug bites the dust, dispatched by bat technology.
Now, we have been incredibly lucky. We've moved some of the vegetation out of the way, and right above me I can see two little tent-making bats. These are very pretty bats indeed, and if you're not a fan of bats because they're dark and mysterious creatures, these will probably put you back on the right track. Because where else in the world do you actually see white bats? Now, that white isn't there to make them endearing to us humans. It is possibly to do with a trick of light. That white reflects the green that comes through the leaf and makes them blend in perfectly. Now, this structure is actually quite simple. It's a leaf of a plant that's in the banana family, known as a heliconia. And what the bats have done is nibbled either side of the main midrib of this leaf. So the leaf is then folded, almost like canvas over the ridgepole of a ridge tent. And it's folded under its own weight to provide the perfect little encampment for these bats. They've also, it seems, pockmarked the leaf with little holes. All I can assume is that allows them to kind of grip on with their claws while they hang upside down.